Welcome to Being Human. I'm one of your hosts, Steve Cuss.
I'm Lisa Cuss.
Hey, we're glad that you've joined us. Being Human is all about paying attention to the dynamics under the surface that infect all our relationships. Not just your relationship with other humans, but also your relationship with yourself, and sometimes most keenly, your relationship with God. We're talking about trauma triggers, reactivity, assumptions. These are the things that disconnect us. And one of the first things that goes away when we're disconnected is awareness of God. And that's why every week on this show, we light a candle to remember the Lord, to relax into God's presence. And whether you're joining us audibly or on video, you can listen to the sound or you can watch us light a candle. And we invite you, wherever you are, just to take a pause right now, just 30 seconds. Take a deep breath and remember the Lord. You know, it's interesting, isn't it, that most of us around the world, we live in such a reactive culture nowadays that we just catch and spread anxiety without realizing it, and we can go hours or days without noticing the Lord. But we're invited in Scripture to remember the Lord. It's one of the most frequent commands, and so that's what we do on this show. Well, we are in a series of episodes where we're teaching you one of our tools, and Lisa, maybe you'd tell us what that tool is.
So right now we're focusing on the 4 spaces, which is an incredible tool to help detangle anxiety and reactivity that we feel and we sense. So the 4 spaces are simply looking at the space inside of you, the space between you and somebody else, the space that's inside somebody else, and then the space that happens between a group. Often this can be you observing it happening within 2 or 3 or more people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was doing a workshop recently, and one guy just kept peppering me about second space and third space, the space between you and the other versus the space inside the other. Could you talk a bit about third space? What is that when you're inside someone else's brain?
Yeah. So third space is that space that it's the other person's hopes, their longings, their anxiety, their frustration. It's anything that's inside them that is not seen or spoken to us. So the way I describe the difference is second space is visibly seen or spoken or acted out. Third space is the space that leaves you guessing. So, yeah, you can guess at what their hopes or dreams or anxieties are, but you're not sure because they've not been made known yet.
Yeah. So, for example, if you were frustrated at me, second space would be you telling me that or indicating clearly. But third space would be maybe you're not frustrated at me at all, but you have, let's call it resting frustration face. And I'm making meaning out of that. I'm saying, oh no, Lisa's obviously mad at me, when maybe you're just thinking about something, but I'm in your brain trying to figure out what you're thinking about.
Yeah, that's why we often use the phrase, where are you? Or are you okay? Or so that if I see you spinning and to do and you're not saying a whole lot, but your body language,
Yeah.
I am observing that in second space.
Yeah.
I am trying to guess what's going on inside you, which is third space. And then first space is it's impacting me and making me spin.
Yeah.
So it is interesting that they all overlap. But if I say then to you, babe, are you okay? Or where are you right now? And then you speak back what's going on, that's all second space to make things known and keep me from guessing.
Yes, the second space isn't always a bad thing. It actually is one of the tools to relax us.
Yep.
One of the things I've learned about myself lately, this is a recent learning, is how obsessive I get when something needs to be, I don't know if it's troubleshot or troubleshooted. I don't know the correct grammar.
Let's say both.
Yeah. But like, you know, we're recording in our podcast studio and I had some technical issues, and you would often, the week I was trying to resolve it, you would often come to me and say, where are you? And I'm madly trying to solve a technical problem because I'm kind of out of my depth with some of it, but it was hard for me to be present.
Yes.
And the last time I noticed that was this morning. I was doing some work when you came down, and I noticed how hard it is for me just to close my work and just chat because I hadn't completed it. That's new for me. Like,
Huh.
it's not new behavior. It's new awareness. It's old behavior. But I'm like, oh, wow, I have to work at interrupting my work. There's something in me that believes I'll lose it or I'm
Mhm.
something. I don't know. But you must have noticed that.
I notice that. I am the same way though. I if I leave my work to be present with somebody else, it
Yeah.
takes me a long time to get my head back into it.
Yeah.
And so I think we both do that with our work and being present with each other.
Yeah.
It's my daughter, right, has a new phrase. Because if I'm involved in work and then she's saying something, I literally sometimes I just don't hear it because I'm so laser focused in. And she'll say, Mom, you're leaving me unheard again.
Yeah. Instead of
Like
unread on a
instead of
text.
unread, you're
Yeah.
leaving me
Mom
unheard.
left me unheard. It's
Yeah.
funny.
And it happens a lot
Yeah.
because I'm so focused, but it can feel like to the other person that you just don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
So good
actually
point.
there's just a lot going on
So
in
much going on.
first space.
Yeah, in first space.
Okay, so I don't remember when I came up with the 4 spaces of anxiety, but one of the things I love is how the people in my life who I love improve and put these things into practice. And you have taken the 4 spaces so much further than I did.
Hmm.
And you use them in therapy a lot with clients. I'd love to hear a bit about like that 4th space. I've heard you when you help clients kind of map out the 4th space.
Yeah, no, it's been really helpful because when we're feeling so anxious, it's all overlapping, like what's going on inside of us, what we experience with somebody else. That 4th space has been powerful because people often come in very anxious about what's going on in a group or in a work situation in a group. And once we get to 4 spaces, oftentimes I use markers that are different colors just to represent the different people that are involved.
I just need to clarify. Are you drawing on a client or use like a whiteboard?
No, literally we hold markers.
Oh, got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I get markers out and we just hold each color represents somebody that is in that 4th space. And then we're able to pull out, okay, which markers actually are the ones that you're concerned about and all the others. So even like zeroing in, it's not everybody, it's usually just a few in 4th space. And then we're looking at which of these are you more concerned about what's going on inside of them, toward you
Yeah.
versus something they've actually done. And it just helps to realize, okay, what can we do? And what is not mine to do so I can surrender it. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the ways.
Yeah,
to use it.
sometimes when I'll do a workshop, I'll have people, I'll set a stopwatch for 2 minutes and I'll have people write the first name of everyone whose head they've been in that week.
Yeah.
And the winner so far is 87 names, which
Oh
at
my
first I thought,
gosh.
how do you write 87 names in 2 minutes? But what this lady did is she simply wrote down the phrase, everybody in this room. And there were 87 people in the room. And she said, every time I leave every conversation, I'm wondering what everybody is thinking.
Yes.
And there are some people wired that way. And so one of the things we are listening for when we help people with 4 spaces is this superlative exaggeration language, like everybody thinks this or all of the people were upset. It's often common in teenagers. We hear this a lot in teens.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks this. We're like, what?
Everybody's looking at me. Everybody
Yeah.
noticed. Yeah.
But we do it as adults as well.
We do.
And it's such a helpful tool to say, how many of those people are you actually concerned about? And it's often just a handful.
Yeah, narrowing it down helps get people more into reality. And once we're into reality, we can look at the bite-sized things that we can actually handle versus facing outside of reality and feeling out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the end of this episode, we're going to give you a tool that we haven't covered yet with the 4 spaces, something that you can put into practice this week or in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned to right to the end when we do that. We've got 2 guests to recap. And man, both of these were fantastic. Let's start with Toni Collier. Every time as a white man, I am interviewing a Black woman, I know as a general rule, it's going to be a lot of fun and there's going to be a lot of power in it. Boy, that was true with Toni.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, one of my favorite things about Toni, she was forthcoming and very vulnerable about her story. and part of it that she's worked through, but she was also very vulnerable about what she is currently going through and
Yeah.
experiencing reactivity with, like, in real time.
Yeah.
And those are the people that I want to listen to again and again and again, because faith in the moment, I would say, even more moving than faith that has already been worked through.
Yeah. One of the questions I asked her, because she did disclose a fairly horrific childhood,
Yeah.
and it's very common, as you and I both know, that your childhood is just normal until suddenly one day you realize it wasn't. And I always love asking a guest, when was the moment for you that you realized, oh man, I've been through a lot? And she talked about being with her therapist,
Mhm.
and she's just recounting, trauma after trauma, like really heavy trauma. And her therapist is stopping and saying to her, are you okay right now? Because she was doing it very cheerfully. I imagine that's a normal experience for you as well.
Oh, it's so moving to listen to because she had never thought about if she's okay. And it was the moment that she realized that she's not and that she has permission not to be okay.
Yeah.
And man, yes, I get to witness that firsthand. We get to experience that sometimes for ourselves,
Yeah.
realizing we're not okay and permission it's there. So, yeah, this was a powerful interview. I also liked at the beginning, you were just asking her about what would be one thing that she would want as a Black woman that
Yeah.
she would want white men to know?
Yeah. What should I, as a white man, know about your experience as a Black woman that I might not know?
I want to add something to that because, we're just here. I think as a Black woman, just that, we really want you to know that our aggression is based out of fear and not a need for fire or power. It is, we are just deeply scared that we're already behind. We don't have a lot of support. We'll be discounted or seen as not smart. And our passion and drive is to prove that we are all those things, that we are smart, that we will work hard, that we are good and kind inside and not crazy or aggressive or mean. And that we're just so passionate because we're so scared that we won't matter and we'll be overlooked. As a single mama who's also a Black woman, I think what I've really wanted the church to know is that being in ministry as a single mom, as a single mom is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my whole life. And I have seen some real dark days. Worrying about my children and trying to serve the Lord is, I mean, gosh, it just keeps me up at night.
When we can consider how somebody is showing up and look at the fears and the tenderness of their story, it would foster connection in a whole new way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a question I ask anytime I have a guest who is not a white male like me.
Yeah.
And I always look forward to that question. I'm always a little afraid because I don't want to, I don't know, put someone in an uncomfortable spot, but I'm yet to have a guest. Everyone's thrilled to answer that question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
Okay, so one of the things we loved about what Toni talked about is the way she chased and pursued healing in community. She was really fighting for freedom in community. And one day, one of her older friends came along and invited her. They'd been friends for a long time, but she invited her into a deeper community experience with someone we're both very familiar with, Dr. Kurt Thompson.
Yeah, yeah. Invite her into the confessional communities. And I love the line she said, her friend said, look, this is not something I'm inviting you in and we're just going to like each other's responses. It's not going to be texted out. But this is going to be a community where we're going to say things and have hard times with each other and figure out how to repair and how to walk with each other and the rest of the group in a stronger and more connected way. So, yeah, that is at the core, I think, what most people are craving and what many are also afraid of.
Right.
It's about living a life on the offense and not the defense. I think as believers, especially, once you get mature in your faith, you just know God's design for us was Eden. No pain, no destruction, complete and beautiful divine connection with him, no betrayal, no infidelity, all these things. And the fall of man and the curse that we are now living under produces all of this pain. And I think sometimes it's weird to me that as believers, we're like, I just don't understand why that happened. I don't even understand why my marriage is falling apart. Like, I just don't understand. I'm like, guys, wait a minute. Like, have any of us read the Bible here? Okay. We are living under this curse and we should expect tragedy, which sounds weird. And I'm not a pain junkie, I promise. But when you get mature in your faith and you realize that there's a spiritual war happening, not only in the spiritual realm, but also in the tangible earthly space. It is manifesting through really hard things. When you get to that point, you start to say, you know what? I'm not going to sit by and let this pain crush me. I'm going to get prepared. And I'm going to get prepared by making sure that I'm surrendering my life every day to the only God that can redeem every broken thing. And I am going to be in relationship with God's people so that when tragedy hits, I've got a lineup that can carry me through. It's almost like we're just kind of like flopping around, like one of those little blow up marketing tools on the corner, flopping around life, unprepared for the fact that we're living under a curse. We're not in heaven in eternity in perfect peace with our Father. And so, what does that actually look like? What it looks like is being intentional about finding safe people, taking the time to actually have intentional, deep connection and conversations with them, and being honest about where you want them in your life. You know, this confessional community wasn't something we stumbled upon. My friend Jessica called me. Dr. Kurt Thompson was her psychiatrist. And she was like, I want to start this thing. And here's what that means for us. We're not just going to be tagging each other in Instagram posts. I want to share my life with you, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between. It's going to be hard. We're going to have ruptures that will have the need to repair. This is going to be a difficult, intentional thing. And those types of conversations we're just not having anymore. We may have them in marriage, in dating, in relationships, but we have somehow diminished the value of having God's people on our side as friends, as brothers and sisters who can sharpen us and who can hold us. And that's what it's been for me. And it has saved me. I would not have made any type of progress in my healing journey in this season without having had a whole lineup of people ready to catch me.
Remember several years ago, we were at a conference where Philip Yancey spoke, and people were asking him, because he's kind of the king of pain, like he's the guy that studies pain and tragedy. And people were asking him, how do we live a life that ensures that we'll get through difficult things? And Yancey said, well, what you do is you join a local church. It's helpful if you like the sermons and the worship, but really you just serve that church for 20 years. And then when trouble hits, you'll have the relationships you need to get through.
Yeah.
I've thought about that so many times. And a lot of what Toni just shared was the idea that she already had these existing friendships.
Yes.
But you and I run into people, and we work with people with our own intensives. And when people come to us that are so hungry for deep connection and they feel like they can't find it.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, even right now, that's one of the biggest things that we're like working on and brainstorming and processing through just with dear souls that I'm walking with, is the desire for depth of community and walking with people in a deep way, but not knowing where to find it or how to get it, and getting the message from other people, um, that they're disinterested in depth.
Yeah. Yeah. People will say things like, well, I go to church and it's not like there's too much pretense, or I don't feel like I can really be myself there. Some people may even join a small group and
Mhm.
they're still saying, this isn't the place. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because, the more we gather with people in our home and the more we have people who do not know each other at all come in for intensives. I'm even thinking to past seeker groups that we've had, right? With people in the church who are just considering the claims of Christ, and have unique individual stories and meet together, not knowing people. Um, People crave safety, um, and don't, I think there's a longing to be able to be vulnerable, but not sure that they can trust the people they're with to hold it.
Right. And I do think when you and I are working together with these groups, I am thinking back to the seeker groups we used to lead.
Yeah.
A lot of the work we were doing implicitly was trying to set people at ease so they could be themselves.
Yes.
And that does take a particular kind of leader.
Yes.
One of the things I've noticed, like I'm thinking about when I was in Malaysia and working almost predominantly with people from Southeast Asia. And some of the non-Asian people coached me beforehand and said, hey, vulnerability is not welcomed in Southeast Asian culture, which is obviously a generalization. And I went in and said, well, let's see. And I had about 50 people in the room, which is a lot, and basically set a posture where you could be yourself. And
Mhm.
out comes all of this pressure and vulnerability and freedom to talk. When we're in England together, and we've even had English people come into our intensives, and it's so funny, they'll say to us, well, it's not very British to be vulnerable. We all kind of have that guard up. And I'll say to them, I've heard that now from like 80 different British people.
Yes.
Like, if you could all find each other, then your guard can come down together. But easier said than done.
Yeah. And the more we're talking about it, for people who are interested in like, man, I want this and I'm
Yeah.
having trouble finding it, or it, I think one of the big things is just setting up that as we share here together, we're not here to fix.
Yeah.
We're just here to be with one another. And it may be that as we share, we don't say a whole lot
I
afterwards,
like that.
but we just say, man, thanks for sharing. And thanks for being here and being real. And that when we can let go of our desire to like fix somebody else's situation or make them feel better, then we actually are providing a sense of safety for somebody to be real, and then also permission for ourselves
Yeah.
to be real and human as well.
Yeah. And when we host our intensives, it's usually between 4 and 20 something people. It's a wide range. But oftentimes people will say to us, I don't know how to find this experience when I go back home. And we do advise you only need like 2 others.
Yeah.
You don't
Start
need, yeah,
small.
don't worry about a big group. Just start with a couple. And
Hmm.
really, you have to be willing to share your vulnerability first.
Hmm.
What was interesting about Toni, she had this powerful story about her birthday party, and she openly says how she's extroverted, and the idea of these people she didn't even know, strangers, who came to her birthday party and ended up being a great blessing to her. It made me think of the Bible verse where we're encouraged to entertain and be hospitable to strangers, because you never know when you might be entertaining an angel, is what the authors of scriptures say. And Toni talked really in a fun way about being an extrovert and inviting these strangers and what happened at a party.
I love people. Like, I am on the extrovert scale sitting at 100%. I mean, there is no introvert in me at all. And I love strangers, honestly. I just love them. And my birthday was July 19th. And I just worked out. I went to a cutie little space, and I had a little happy birthday hat because I'm a Teletubby and I'm wearing my happy birthday hat everywhere as a 34-year-old, and I do not care. And there was a group of women sitting at a table, and they just started singing happy birthday to me. Like, out in the public, I took a little video. We were dancing. I walked over to them, thanked them. Complete strangers. Never laid eyes on these people at all. About 7 women. And they told me that they were a run club slash Bible study. I told them who I was. They prayed over me. And then I invited them to my birthday party. Strangers. The next day, I'm giving a speech at my birthday dinner, and I spot 2 of the girls from that moment. And I know it's going to be weird when I say this. All my people were there. My friends, gym members, I mean, church people, everybody was there. And I felt so loved by their presence. I felt more loved that 2 strangers would feel safe enough to come into a random birthday dinner party to celebrate me and bring a gift. I just think it's the kindness of God that He would just send people, strangers, all the time to love you and don't even really know you. And I know that's so weird, but I just kept thanking them all night. Wow, thank you for showing up for me. And you don't even know me. And I just think it was a beautiful picture of God's people, the early Acts church. Everyone gave of everything they had, and everyone had everything they needed. And some of them barely even know each other.
I thought this was such a delightful story. And yeah, I just found myself smiling afterwards because somebody that's so exuberant and honestly comfortable in their own skin, to be able to meet strangers and just and invite them to their party and to feel honored even by their presence. And then I was thinking, like, she is a self-professed extreme extrovert,
Right.
and I can listen to this and think, I'm kind of a ambivert.
That's
Right?
awesome.
Like I am highly social. I can be extroverted. I recharge on my own.
Yeah.
And especially the older I get, the more alone time I need to recharge. And so I may never be that person who is going to be, well, first of all, I don't like huge parties personally.
Right.
So I would be more at a smaller party or several of them for the circles of people that I love. But whether you're extroverted or introverted or numbers or whatever, it's okay. I think what this is all about is the posture that she holds and was even modeling of invitation with people, and also a posture of receiving love. And when we receive love
Mm.
from other people, then they actually feel really loved, and a part of things as well. And that we can all do regardless of how social or
Yeah.
extroverted or introverted we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So good. So thank you, Toni.
Mm.
And then our next guest was Les Parrott. I used to mispronounce his name all the time. Les Parrott. And Les and his wife, Leslie, golly, when was their marriage? Their first marriage book would have been written.
I mean, right before we got married.
Yeah, because we studied it before
we
we got
studied
married.
it in 1996. And as Les said on the show, they're about 10 years ahead of us. So they'd been married about 10 years when the book came out. I think it was brand new for us. Now it's a vintage.
Yeah, it's a vintage book.
thing. But for us, it was new back in the day.
Yeah. So anyway, we really, honestly, we admire their work and also how they've grown through the years.
Yeah.
Like they're making a huge impact on marriages and God honored, and really looking at the real of what comes up inside of us and between us. So this was a fascinating question or fascinating conversation with Les.
Yeah, I was really excited to have him on the show because they had formed our premarital counseling, but also I just think there are some people that are right in the wheelhouse of being human.
Mm-hmm.
And, Les's specialty is interpersonal dynamics. Les just had so many nuggets of wisdom that we've both been chewing on. And one of them was simply some parenting advice when he talked about the difference between engineering versus shepherding your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And what I loved about it is he was talking about babies and preemies, and making them listen to classical music. I did that. Like, we did the baby Einstein, and he was teasing about it. So,
and on a side note, is that a farce now?
I don't know.
Anyway, that's another conversation. I was just listening to podcasts that are now like demything all of that stuff.
Yeah. And what's interesting is we weren't trying to create math nerds.
No.
Like two things that are true about the Cusses. Cuss children are not going to become math nerds or athletes due to us.
Yes.
They are math nerds and athletes because of some spawn situation that happened with our DNA. Because all three of our kids are really amazing
because
athletes.
Because of the pastures we put them in.
It was the shepherding
and it's not, yes, it's not engineered.
It was the shepherding. But great advice, however old, if you have children, just you can tune back into Les and listen to that. But he was also talking about the power of connection and how fragile the connected state is, and how easily we get reactive and disconnected. Why is it so fragile? Why is it so hard to stay connected all the time?
Oh, I mean, I wish I completely knew, but I think it is because of our fears. It's the coping strategies that we use based on false needs of what we think we need to be okay. Yeah, when I'm in people pleaser mode, it is really disconnecting.
Yeah.
When I am assured of who I am and I'm okay as I am, it like is an open door for connection.
Yeah. Yeah, so Les and Leslie are still actively counseling people. In fact, the night before I interviewed Les, he had just wrapped up like an emergency marriage counseling session where somebody threw the question about connection.
Last night in this late night counseling session, it was virtual, and the woman said they were getting ready for this trip, and I said, "What do you need from him for this trip to kind of keep your head above water?" And she said, "I need him to be totally emotionally stable." And I said, mentioned her name, and I said, "Hey, I'm a clinical psychologist. That's a tall order for anybody, including me. Who's consistently emotionally stable?" Right? So it's the kind of thing that when we put that on another person, we have to really understand, are we, so often it's a projection, right, of ourselves, what we really want in us. As a psychologist, it's one of my mantras. Awareness is curative. You can't do anything to improve until you become aware of it. I often say awareness is curative and clarity is kindness, right? And so those two things can go a long way. They sound kind of flippant and kind of, not like they're so profound. I think it's simplicity on the other side of complexity in this situation, because awareness, you just can't do anything if you don't see what's going on. If you're in a messy house and you don't see how messy it is, you're never going to clean it, right? And the same thing happens emotionally, and that's why we're all in this journey. It doesn't matter whether you have a PhD in psychology or not. It's a challenge for all of us because it goes against our nature.
One of my favorite moments of this episode was when two dudes, me and Les, were talking about childbirth. I always love it when a dude is talking to another dude about childbirth. But what was really moving to me is their first child was born extremely premature. I think it was like 12 to 14 weeks premature, right on the cusp of being able to make it. And Les talked about how the nurse pulled he and Leslie aside and said, you'll need to mark every milestone as your baby fights for life. I think it was also moving to me because it brought me right back to chaplaincy. I did 6 months in the NICU, and I spent so much of my time scrubbing up and putting on the scrubs and going and praying over these tiny, tiny babies. It was So I was noticing myself as Les was sharing. I was feeling really flooded.
Oh, yeah.
But he even on the interview, he took his wedding ring off and he reenacted how he could slide his wedding ring up the arm of his little boy. And I said to Les, I was like, man, you talk about that like that just happened yesterday.
Yes.
And I'm not here to try to make you cry, but I remember when our firstborn was born and my mom and dad came over, and my mother, I was 28 or 29 when Bryson was born. And then my mother recounts my birth like it just happened that morning.
Yes.
Which is something that we could both do.
Yeah.
Les uses the phrase flashbulb memories to talk about that.
Yeah, those memories that we hold that are so, I don't think the word is fraught, but they're just illuminated with emotion so that there is vivid imagery that creates a feeling, a sensation. Um, I think what's hard is sometimes it may not always be based in truth or reality of what happened, but it becomes the narrative that we remember, what's interesting is we were on a big road trip with our daughter, and I loved the activity you had us do, which was take turns adding to the Spotify jam a song that meant a lot to us.
Yeah.
And we are going to play it and then talk about it. And it was
all of
funny.
yours were like 80s power ballads. Like these big metal bands playing these power ballads. That made me so happy.
But they're flashbulb memories.
Yeah.
Like music also is a powerful one. Like
yes.
when I hear I am the glory of love, right?
Yeah,
I
Peter
am
Cetera.
Peter Cetera. When I hear that, I am right back at my first ever middle school dance.
Some sweaty boy.
Right? I'm right there again. And then for you, you were sharing some as well, but it's,
For those who are curious, Tom Waits for me.
yeah.
Is playing some Tom Waits and some of his more pathos-based songs for sure. Yeah,
Yes. And then our daughter was sharing some as well. But
yeah,
these are also a part of flashbulb
yeah.
memories. And there are things that create a narrative within us and also are memories that can foster connection as
I'm really
well.
grateful to Les because I'd never heard that phrase and he taught it to us.
Yeah.
In psychology, there's this thing called flashbulb memories. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
But they're really designed to help us survive in so many ways from an evolutionary standpoint. But it helps us to feel they feel accurate, even if they aren't, because we've kind of told this narrative to ourselves and lived it. And so there's certainly a lot of truth in it, but we kind of encode ourselves to have that vivid memory. And so in psychology, it's a flashbulb memory because that's how we remember the things that matter most to us. It's like we take that vivid picture and it just stays with us.
Oh, that was such a great interview. I really enjoyed, there was just a variety of nuggets of wisdom that Dr. Parrott shared. So if you've not heard that episode, it's linked in the notes. We highly encourage you to go back and take a listen and just find yourself there. Great things to reflect on. So in review, we wanted to just talk about, again, to list the 4 spaces for you, that what we're focusing on in this season right now is the space inside of you, the space you notice between you and another person, the space that is inside another person that you find your mind is just taken over by. It's often the things that are unknown to you and you're spinning on inside somebody else. And then that 4th space is the space that's happening within a group. Sometimes you're a part of it, sometimes you're just observing it, but that group space.
I'm thinking about 4th space when I was a lead pastor and how I could ruin a party just by showing up to it.
Yes.
Because now the pastor's there and people act differently. So particularly if you're in some kind of a leadership position, some kind of public leadership, man, you're so aware of walking into a room and changing the mood. But maybe, for you, where you want to practice this week is 4th space when you're already in the room and Peter walks in and he changes the room. So we'd promised a simple tool at the end. What we're going to encourage you to do, think about the next couple of weeks. This is really simple. And think about an event that's coming up in your life that is going to generate anxiety for you. Maybe it's a meeting, maybe it's a situation, or think about a relationship. So either think about an event or a relationship where you're going to have an interaction in the next 2 weeks. Okay, great. Now, first of all, reactivity stops your awareness of God's presence. So the first thing you're going to do is pick that event and actually make a calendar event about it, or if you already have it on your calendar, edit it, and you're going to call the event God is already in the room. Let's say that you're a public politician and you have a public hearing, and you know that as a politician, those public hearings are really fraught with reactivity. Great. And it's Wednesday at 5 p.m. Put on your calendar, God is already in the room, and then set an alert on your calendar. And now your calendar is going to remind you before the event, God's already in the room. Now, the anxiety might still be flying, but you're now going to walk into that room relaxing into God's presence. Now, when we say relaxing into God's presence, you might still be pretty reactive yourself. It's not about being Yoda. It's not about being above it all. It's about walking in and noticing God's presence rather than carrying reactivity.
It's a both and. Anytime we can note, I am anxious and God is already in the room and he is holding all of this, it helps.
Yeah. So that's your tool, and it's a noticing tool. What I love about the 4 spaces, you don't have to say anything and you don't have to act differently. You can just walk in and choose something to notice.
Powerful.
Okay, so that's our episode. If this is helpful for you, we are really wanting to ask you to help us by spreading the word. And that means you can leave a rating. Okay, that's fine. But if you're willing to leave a written review, oh, do we love our written reviews. And listen, Being Human is a global podcast. We got a review in recently from Switzerland, a guy whose username was Lightholder. I like that. Or maybe a lady. Who's to know? Here's what Lightholder said. Being Human is practical, compassionate, and open. This podcast fuses the reminder of deep spiritual truths with tremendously beneficial insights from psychology and neuroscience in a way that is not prescriptive or moralistic, but humble. That's probably me.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Open to doubt, questions, and mystery. It truly offers a space for listeners to learn, explore, question, and take away practical tools, no matter where someone is on their faith journey. Lightholder from Switzerland, thanks so much. We're thrilled that we have a global audience. We really do want to reach as many people who are looking for relief. And that's why if you might be willing to share one of these episodes, just click the share button if there's somebody that you think would benefit. That would really help us and them.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay, we'll see you next time.